Putin just made a massive mistake. He wanted the world to believe that Russian forces had surrounded Pokrovsk and that Ukraine was about to collapse. To prove this lie, he held a press conference and even invited Western journalists to come visit. Well, no foreign journalists actually showed up, but you know who did believe him? His own Russian soldiers. And that was a catastrophic error. After hearing their leader talk about victory, a confident column of Russian soldiers entered the city under the cover of fog. But they started posting selfie videos on TikTok about how they were advancing. And guess who was watching? Ukrainian drone forces. Within hours of those videos being published, the Russian column was annihilated. This is not some Ukrainian propaganda. This has been confirmed by furious Russian military propagandists who are now blaming their own side. Putin's hubris and propaganda are coming back to bite him on the front line, resulting in a pile of bodies and burnt equipment. So let's start from the beginning. On October 26th, Putin held a press conference cosplaying as a military commander, even though he has never served in the army or even been close to the front lines. He's just too worried about Ukrainian drones to leave his bunker. But at this press conference, he announced that he's offering mercy to any Ukrainian soldier who's willing to surrender in Pokrovsk.
In order to minimize unnecessary casualties, I ask, as we have done previously, that you take all comprehensive measures to ensure the capture of Ukrainian servicemen, those who, of course, wish to do so. You and I know.
Now, even Russian military bloggers did not agree with what Putin was saying. That's because they know that the city is not surrounded. It wasn't surrounded back then, it's still not surrounded. But instead of blaming Putin, they started blaming the Russian military command for giving him fake information. That's the good old Russian strategy of good Tsar, old boyar. They want to blame everyone but the Tsar. Well, even after the backlash, Putin did not back down. In fact, he doubled down on his own lie. Just hours later, he announced that he will be pausing hostilities so Western journalists can come into the area and see how bad the Ukrainian soldiers were struggling.
They don't mind letting reporters, media representatives, including international and Ukrainian ones, in the encirclement zones so that they could see for themselves what is going on there, could see the status in which the encircled troops are.
Well, it's been more than 2 weeks since Putin put out his offer, and no one has accepted it. The Russian military actually emailed a bunch of people to invite them, but everyone said no. But you know who did believe him? Putin's own soldiers. After Putin talked about victory so publicly, Russian soldiers got careless. They started posting TikTok videos about how they are entering the city on motorcycles and jeeps. Take a look. When this video came out, a lot of people online started saying that this looks like Mad Max. To me, this looks like ISIS, people on motorcycles with an AK-47. But either way, Ukrainians were not scared when they saw that video. In fact, they were happy because they could geolocate where this footage is from, and within an hour of this being posted, these Russians got a gift from Ukrainian drones. Take a look at this report, and I want to clarify for everyone, this is from a Russian propagandist who has been covering this war. This guy is very pro-Russian. Just a quick note before I read it, this was in Russian, we translated it using like automatic translation, so the grammar is kinda off. The armed forces of Ukraine struck a concentration of personnel and equipment in Pokrovsk after a viral video showed a Russian soldier on motorcycles entering the city, wrote Russian vlogger Razvidos. And this was his comment. Because of that idiot who filmed this and leaked it online, today there's a pile of 200s and burnt equipment on the site. In the comments, the blogger clarified that he's quoting a military friend who said, who has suffered losses on the road. What was the point of releasing the video, beside the hype on the internet? Another military correspondent, Alexander Kotz, also believes that publishing the hype video was a mistake. The Ukrainians mined this road just along the sideburns. Literally everything was mined. The next day, it was already impossible to pass there simply because the position on the Donetsk highway was burnt this entry. That's what he said. Clearly, Russians were having too much fun making fun of their own side. But Ukrainians wanted in on this too. That's why they published their own hype video, but they did it after they took care of the Russian column. Take a look. Now, the obvious question I had was how did Ukraine geolocate it and how did they do it so quickly? So I called former Navy SEAL Tsar, who was actually on the Ukrainian front lines just 4 weeks ago. So he explained how this whole thing works. It's not a secret, it's just normal people like me don't know how it actually works. But before I get to that, I do want to show you guys how badly the Russian soldiers are suffering in terms of supplies on the front lines. Just recently, a Ukrainian Air Force fighter dropped a pair of heavyweight glide bombs on a Russian supply route into the city. The strike reportedly disabled the route for light vehicle traffic, one of the main ways Russian infantry infiltrated into the city, and also one of the main ways Russia used to supply all the soldiers who are fighting on the front lines of the city. Now, the situation is deteriorating very fast for the Russian soldiers who have been cut off. Take a look at this report that came out on Sunday morning. So according to this report, Russian soldiers fighting near Pokrovsk say that they are eating bark to avoid starvation, while they face systematic extortion, embezzlement, violence from their commanders, who send numerous men to their deaths and routinely execute others who are deemed inconvenient. So for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know this, bark basically means the outer layer of trees, which is what some of the Russian soldiers are eating. And just a few weeks ago, we saw a Russian soldier talking about how he's forced to drink his own pee because there's no water left on the front lines. But let's look at this report. This comes from Vladimir, who actually shares his position in the Russian army, who recorded a series of videos which his aunt has released in an apparent effort to pressure the Russian authorities to take action against the commanders. In these videos, he has given detailed accounts of abuses in his unit, which reflect many similar accounts across the Russian army. He says that he's the commander of an assault platoon, but he has lost many soldiers due to reckless commanders above him, the rush and all that. In a video recorded on September 2025, he says that his men are sent on meat grinding missions, calculating that no one will survive, and arranging everything necessary for this. Before launching an assault, his commanders ordered him to execute 5 of his own men. He does not explain the reasons for this, but this guy refused to go through with it. He also says that he personally received such an order from a lieutenant with a call sign Twilight, but he refused to carry it out. Instead of murdering his own men, he persuaded them to join him on the assault so they would have a chance of living. They all died anyway, which is kind of sad. They send the groups to the far end, that is the front line. They say there is still food there, that everything should be there. The squads arrive there, and there is nothing there. They don't send planes, supply drones there. They say they cannot fly there, although the allies, the neighboring units, can. After that, they do everything to ensure that these guys don't survive. They sent us to storm. I survived. I was the only one. Although he survived, he was badly injured. Now, this was a long video, like 7 minutes long. He goes on to say that this is even scarier than Bakhmut. It feels like everyone's been sent away for death. It's total crap. It feels like they have taken everyone to zero. Young guys, they are dying here one after another. It's all effed up. Clearly, this is a horrible situation, but this is basically what the Russian strategy is. If I were to sum it up in like one sentence, Russia is hoping that Ukraine runs out of bullets and drones before Russia runs out of men, which is a sad reality for young Russian men who are being thrown into the front lines. This is exactly why a lot of these soldiers are not even given any training, because Russia thinks, what's the point of training these people, investing money in training them if they're going to die so quickly anyway? This is where we come back to the original video, where these soldiers apparently weren't even told, hey, don't make TikTok videos. So I hopped on a call with former Navy SEAL Tsar, and he explained how Ukraine was able to geolocate it. Let's listen to that breakdown.
Well, there's a big problem between social media and operational security, and I'll show you how they triangulated this as we get a look at it. Okay, we're looking back and we can see a road junction and, a dirt road meeting the main road, but you look back there and there's the road sign right there. So,
Yeah.
and you have to remember that Ukrainian forces were at this position previously.
This
This
blue thing,
is,
right?
yeah, exactly. Now I can't really tell because it's foggy, which is why these guys are moving. They're taking advantage of the fog. But this looks like it is a north-south route coming into the south of Pokrovsk. And exactly, the Russians themselves are complaining that after they posted this video, the Ukrainians were quick to use this as a base for artillery barrage. So tough luck.
Yeah, 100%. And also, this is crazy because we have heard about like Russians have been a lot of the advances is been really helped by the fog, and here we can see how thick the fog really is.
The big benefit of the fog is that most of the drones are controlled. We talk about that upside down wedding cake with the FPV drones in the smallest portion of the cake going up to a bigger portion of the cake where you have higher endurance drones with more articulate camera systems, and they're used to visually spot targets. So when you got a day like this where the ceiling is probably 75 feet, FPV drones could target these guys, but there's no reason to send them there because you can't direct them, short term into the target.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You know that saying where like nature has no side, it helps and hurts both sides equally. So shouldn't this hurt somehow Russian drones too, or is it like they don't need the drone cover?
No, it actually does hurt both sides. There's another thing to take away from this video. It looks like Mad Max is descending on Pokrovsk, but look, they're using stolen civilian cars, Chinese dune buggies, wheelbarrows, motorcycles. This isn't the way you move troops on a battlefield, right? Russian logistics are smoke. They're using donkeys. There's a video coming up where they're literally trying to use a sheep, okay? It's bogus. The other thing is Russia has lost more than 5,000 logistical vehicles, the big Ural trucks that they use. Russia is burning itself up.
Now, this is just a short clip from battlefield breakdowns that we are doing every single week. But unfortunately, we cannot post a lot of these clips here on YouTube because YouTube considers them not advertiser friendly. That's why we created our own platform, Basics Insider. We built it from scratch so we have no restrictions, meaning we don't have to blur our drone footage just because an advertiser doesn't like it. In fact, we don't even run any ads on the website. The website runs on support from you guys. That's why, if you're someone who's interested in videos like these, battlefield breakdowns like this, definitely go check out our platform by going to basicsinsider.com. You can also use the link in the description or QR code on your screen. Once you sign up, you'll be able to watch all the videos that we could not upload here on YouTube. And on top of that, we'll be uploading more and more videos every single week. By watching, you'll also be supporting our channel and our coverage. So thank you so much. My name is Sam, and I'll see you guys in the next one.